There is a plant growing through a crack in your sidewalk right now. It contains more iron per gram than spinach, more calcium per serving than a full glass of cold milk, more omega-3 fatty acids than most fish sold at the supermarket. It has been feeding human beings for over 10,000 years across 6 continents. Roman soldiers dried it and carefully carried it in their field packs. During the Great Depression, it kept entire American families alive when store shelves sat empty and farmland had turned to dust. It grows without water, without tended soil, without anyone's permission. It asks nothing from the earth and gives everything back. Farmers spray it with glyphosate. Municipalities declare it a public nuisance. Agricultural agencies publish eradication guides to destroy it entirely. But here is the quiet paradox. What cannot be owned cannot be sold. This is the story of the dandelion. The herbicide industry generates $26 billion annually. The lawn care industry adds $105 billion more. Both depend on one shared idea. This plant is your enemy. Bayer, the manufacturer of Roundup, names the dandelion as a primary target in its residential herbicide line. It cannot be patented. It cannot be owned. It cannot create farmer dependency. They did not classify it as a weed because it failed. They classified it because it succeeded without them. Welcome to Hidden Herbcraft. Before we open this vault, if these stories matter to you, the best way to preserve this wisdom is simple. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share these vaults with those who need to remember what we forgot. The archive opens in the Tang Dynasty, China, in the year 659 AD. Court physicians compiled the Tang Bensao, the Tang Materia Medica, under direct imperial order from Emperor Gaozong. Among its many entries is a plant they call Pugon Ying. The leaves, it states, reduce swelling, purge liver heat, and strengthen the digestion of soldiers and laborers alike. This is not new knowledge. Chinese healers have been recording its remarkable properties for centuries before this document is ever written. Half a world away, in the great libraries of medieval Baghdad, the physician Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, includes it in his canon of medicine around 1025 AD. He calls it a remedy for joint inflammation, a purifying tonic for the blood, and a powerful cleanser of kidneys and liver. His canon becomes the standard medical reference in European universities for 5 consecutive centuries. The plant does not stop at the edges of any empire. The Algonquin of North America know it well. The Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois, boil its roots to treat kidney ailments and brew its young leaves into a spring tonic after the long hunger of winter. They do not call it a weed. They call it food. They call it medicine. They call it gift. It is the Norse and Celtic peoples who carry it westward without intention. Seeds embedded in ship ballast soil, crossing the Atlantic to a continent, the plant will claim as its own. By the time European colonizers established permanent settlements in North America, the dandelion is already growing at their feet, unbothered and unbowed. It was not planted. It was not invited. It arrived, and it stayed. The dandelion, Taraxacum officinale, grows close to the ground, in a flat rosette of jagged, deeply lobed leaves, each one coarse to the touch like rough velvet. The leaves are dark green, bitter on the tongue with a taste resembling wild arugula, sharpened by earth. The root plunges straight down, sometimes 12 inches deep, like a pale taproot storing nutrition where drought cannot reach. The flower arrives first as a tight yellow fist, then opens into a brilliant golden disc that turns, over days, into a perfect sphere of silver seeds, waiting for wind. It spreads perennially and freely without planting, without care, without permission. It is an empire of one. The year is 1930. In the rural counties of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri, the Depression has not arrived gradually. It arrives all at once. Families who farmed the same land for 3 generations discover that land no longer feeds them back. Banks foreclose. Harvests fail. A U.S. Department of Agriculture survey from 1933 estimates that 34 million Americans, more than 1/4 of the entire population, had no cash income whatsoever. In these counties, in these years, the dandelion is not a weed. It is the difference between eating and not eating. Women in rural Appalachia boil the greens and serve them with cornbread. Children are sent into empty lots to gather leaves in cloth sacks. Entire families survive weeks at a time on dandelion greens, dandelion root coffee, dandelion wine. A 1934 federal relief pamphlet titled "Wild Foods for Hard Times" includes detailed instructions for harvesting, preparing, and preserving dandelion. The federal government publishes a guide teaching Americans to eat what grows in their own backyards. Then the Depression ends. Prosperity returns. The dandelion, which had fed millions, becomes something to be ashamed of. Its association with poverty is too close, too recent. Suburban lawns become a status symbol, and a dandelion on your lawn marks a failing household. By the 1950s, the chemical lawn care industry is ready with a product and a story. The story: the dandelion is your enemy. The product: 2,4-D herbicide, developed from World War II defoliant research. A plant that saved millions was, within a single generation, declared a national nuisance. The same families it had kept alive now poisoned it on sight. There is a second crisis worth naming. During World War I, European supply chains collapse under blockade and warfare. In Belgium and France, civilians turn to foraged plants for survival. Dandelion greens appear in wartime civilian diets across the continent. The French called it pissenlit, a name earned from its diuretic effect, which cleaned kidneys when sanitation failed. It fed a continent at war. Nobody patented it. Nobody sold it. It simply grew, and it was there. 100 grams of raw dandelion greens contain 45 calories, 2.7 grams of protein, 187 milligrams of calcium, 3.1 milligrams of iron, 397 milligrams of potassium, and 10,161 international units of vitamin A. That calcium figure exceeds an equivalent serving of whole cow's milk. That iron figure is higher than spinach per raw gram. That vitamin A content is more than 3 times the amount found in carrots by weight. This is not folk medicine speculation. A 2011 study published in Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine documented that dandelion root extract reduces inflammatory markers in human cell cultures. A 2016 study at the University of Windsor confirmed that dandelion root extract selectively eliminates human cancer cells without damaging healthy ones, a property that pharmaceutical researchers have quietly continued investigating. Dandelion greens contain luteolin, a flavonoid shown in a 2020 review in Frontiers in Pharmacology to inhibit inflammatory cytokines linked to metabolic syndrome, arterial disease, and type 2 diabetes. The root contains inulin, a prebiotic fiber that nourishes gut bacteria and stabilizes blood sugar without triggering insulin response. Folk medicine, validated by science. It requires no purchased fertilizer, no irrigation, no pesticide. It actively restores compacted soil through deep taproot aeration. Quality agricultural engineers have spent billions trying to replicate mechanically. A single dandelion plant produces up to 15,000 seeds. An acre of dandelion, left to grow freely, provides 64,000 calories of food. So why don't we see it on every menu, in every market, in every nutrition plan? Why does the USDA still classify it as a noxious weed in 17 states? Follow the money. In 2023, The global herbicide market was valued at $26.8 billion. The residential lawn care market in the United States alone generates $105 billion annually. The dietary supplement industry, selling zinc, vitamin A, iron, potassium, and prebiotic fiber in capsule form, generates another $177 billion worldwide. The dandelion undermines all three simultaneously. It is free. It grows without purchase. It cannot be patented. It is more nutritionally dense than the supplements they sell to replace the food they displaced. The USDA Cooperative Extension Service, funded by agribusiness interests, has published lawn care guidance specifically identifying dandelion as a target weed and recommending broadleaf herbicides by name. Roundup, glyphosate, manufactured by Bayer following its 2018 acquisition of Monsanto, targets dandelions in its standard residential formula. Ortho-Scots and Spectracide publish eradication guides for the dandelion. Scott's Miracle Grow, a company with $3.8 billion in annual revenue, sells weed and feed products in which the weed is primarily the dandelion. A crop that grows without permission is dangerous to systems built on dependency. Dandelion needs no purchased seed, no fertilizer, no irrigation, no annual replanting. It cannot generate the recurring annual purchase that industrial agriculture requires. It cannot produce farmer debt. It cannot justify a bank loan. It cannot be patented. It cannot be owned. And so the system that profits from ownership does the only logical thing available to it. It teaches you to hate it. The USDA first listed the dandelion as a weed in guidance publications in the 1950s. The same decade, too, 4D herbicide entered the consumer market. Not coincidence. Choreography. The chemical companies needed a target. The lawn industry needed an enemy. The dandelion was free, ubiquitous, undefended, the perfect victim. A 2019 report from the Organic Consumers Association documented lobbying by Corteva Agriscience, the agricultural division of Dow DuPont, to maintain dandelion's classification as a broadleaf weed in federal policy. The classification protects herbicide market share by preventing any reclassification that could normalize foraging. You were not born hating the dandelion. You were taught to. Half the world never forgot. The other half was taught to poison it. In Italy, the dandelion is known as Taraxacum, sold in spring markets from Calabria to Lombardy. In Japan, it is called tanpapo, its dried root sold in pharmacies as a liver tonic. In Lebanon and across the Levant, it is known as hindibe, sautéed with caramelized onion and eaten as a staple. In the United States, a quiet revival is underway. Dandelion greens appear at farmers markets in Portland, Seattle, and New York. Small farms in Vermont and Oregon now cultivate Italian varieties, bred for larger, less bitter leaves. The University of Wisconsin-Madison has begun formal research into dandelion as a supplementary food crop. The knowledge never died. It went underground, waiting, like the taproot, for someone to look. Climate change is not coming. It is here, now. Droughts are consuming the American West, the Horn of Africa, and Southern Europe. The crops feeding 8 billion people were bred for stable rainfall and predictable temperature. That stability is ending. The dandelion was born in chaos. It evolved at the margins of glaciers and desert. It survives minus 30 degrees Celsius. It grows on 6 inches of annual rainfall. It uses 1/3 the water of commercially grown lettuce. When industrial systems fail, the dandelion will be ready. It has been ready for 12,000 years. There is a plant in your sidewalk crack right now. It does not wait for permission. It does not need a corporation to certify its value or a patent to authorize its growth. Perennial, persistent, unbuyable. We did not lose the dandelion. We just forgot it. We were systematically taught to forget, sold supplements to replace what we threw away. Somewhere right now, hands are pulling dandelion greens from a vacant lot in Detroit. An elderly woman in Reggio Calabria carries Taraxacum to her kitchen. A child in Beirut watches her grandmother cook hindibe. The knowledge lives in hands. It lives in kitchens. It lives in the cracks of every sidewalk on every continent. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe to Hidden Herbcraft and hit the bell. Every like and every share preserves what they try to erase. The next vault opens soon.